There are a couple things I want to prioritize when making a combat system for my TTRPG. I want it to be fast, I want it to be easy, and I want it to be dangerous. And I feel like the system we got going now kind of works. Again, y'all comment down below what you think about it, but I think I'm fixing some problems when it comes to stuff. So in a normal D&D combat, you'll roll to hit. I rolled an 8, probably missed. And then if you make it, you roll for damage. Roll a d6. I got a 4, and I add 2. I don't know. I was never really a fan. I'm still not a fan. Honestly, when I play combat in D&D and Pathfinder, it's my least favorite part. It's a lot of math, a lot of thinking. You get to pause and say, do I hit his AC? No, you miss. I hate it when they say, oh, you just miss. No. In this game, you're going to directly oppose somebody while attacking them. You don't miss. Someone just rolls really good when blocking. And it rewards you for preparing for stuff like that. And I'll tell you why. The players have 7 options of what they can do during combat. Attack, you'll literally do, an attack roll using a weapon to harm something. Move, which, go from one place to another. Most of the time, it shouldn't require any roll. I don't like tracking how many feet they can travel. Generally, if it's something that a human could do, let them do it. But the GM might require you to take some kind of agility roll if you're in some kind of weird environment, or maybe there's something that's stopping you from moving. You can aim, which adds your instinct to range attacks, so it takes an extra action in order to add that instinct die, or that ranged die. You can equip. Next to each of the character's items is a circle for holding it in the right hand, or a circle for holding it in the left hand. In combat, in the heat of the moment, if they want to decide to switch around things, they have to use an action to sheath up their sword and take out their spear. I don't know how I feel about that rule yet. I have yet to play it like really intensely. No one's used it a lot in combat in the playtests I've done so far, but leave a comment down below if you disagree with that. Use an ability, which the ability is like, let's say you want to use a magic ability and shoot fire out of your hands. Well, that's going to cost 1 action, which, is not crazy or anything. It's basically like an attack, but it doesn't just mean attacks. It means any kind of ability that you may have. Brace. Brace is the most important thing that you can do in combat. It means that you get to add other dice to your defense rolls. The only way it does this is if you have an item that has a brace or block option. Let's say you have a short sword and you are braced. You're holding a short sword and a shield. That means you'll use the appropriate die that you'll use to block a certain attack, and you'll add your D8 from the short sword and your D6 from the wooden shield. That's huge, and good luck to anyone trying to attack you at that point. The reason it's a separate thing is because I want it to be a decision. I want that to be an option to be reckless and not block. Instead, try to get another hit in or something like that. But it might come at a cost later. Cover and hide, which basically means if you're a stealthy guy or you want to be in the shadows, or if you're anticipating oncoming attacks and you want advantage whenever not being hit by something, you can use an action to hide. Now, you're going to have 3 actions that you're able to use during your turn. You don't have to use an action to talk. You don't have to use an action to look around, but you do have to use an action if you roll for one of those things. Let's say I'm talking to someone trying to intimidate them. I can tell you, the GM can let you do a passion roll to see if you do it, but it's going to cost you one of those slots, like one of those actions that you would do on your turn. So got to keep that stuff in mind. Remember that very first video when I talked about attributes and how important they are? Well, this is another place where they come in. So right above the item section and right below the scars and trauma section, you have this one section where it has slashing, smashing, and range right next to an empty die. And you're thinking, what does that mean? These are your combat dice, and they're important for several reasons. So Your smashing, slashing, and range are dependent on certain attributes, and it says right below them. Smashing is power times 2 and equals a die. My character has 3 power on his character sheet, which means I would multiply that by 2, making it 6. That means on that dice right next to smashing, I'll write a D6 next to it. Tracking? That means if I punch someone in the face, I'll roll a D6 to try to deal damage to them. Same thing with slashing. It is agility times 2. Let's say my character's better at agility. Maybe he has 4 agility. Well, then you multiply that 2, you got a D8. Agility is very important because it also is essential to dodging certain attacks as well. Then you got your range option, which is your instinct times 2. Let's say my range is kind of small. I got 2 in range. Well, then, my friend, that is a D4, which means my preference, since my character's highest is agility, that means he's probably going to prefer using slashing weapons. What are slashing weapons? Exactly what you think they are. They're swords, they're spears, they're anything that cut. Every item that's a weapon has a certain word associated with the type of damage you're dealing next to it. My battle axe is a smashing weapon. My spear is a slashing or a ranged weapon. My dagger is a slashing weapon. My short sword's a slashing weapon, so on and so forth. Let's say my character wants to attack somebody with a sword, which makes sense because he has a D8 in his slashing. Now, the standard short sword that you can start off with in the game is also a D8. We got 1 die that is for my slashing ability or my combat die, just how good I am at slashing things. And we have another D8, which just so happens to be for a short sword, is 1D8. Now, let's say if I wanted to use a long sword instead, you're going to use 2 D6s. There is a reason they're all different types and different numbers of different dice, I promise. Mr. GM, that's all cool, but how do you hit things is what you guys are all screaming at your screens right now. I'll tell you. Let's say I am facing up against a burglar or a thief, and they have a knife pulled on me, but I'm going to attack first, and I'm going to go ahead and strike at them. Well, the thief will have an opportunity to dodge and get out of the way. For NPCs, it's easy. Like, the DM will literally have a sheet saying, this is how much they roll. Let's say he's a common target. He's just a regular guy. He'll have a D6 of a defense die. He rolls, and that's a 6. So that, my friends, is the AC, basically, that he just made. Luckily, I have 2 D8s, so let's see. So he rolled a 6 on here, and my attack roll, let's say it was an 8 and a 5. Well, my friends, that means the 8 was successful, but the 5 wasn't. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we dealt him 1 damage. I know what you're thinking. 1 damage? How am I ever going to kill something that's actually big? Well, you'll be pleased to find out that a common target has 3 health. A hard target has 4 health, and a powerful target, like a giant monster, for example, has like 8. That's generally how it works. Let's say that my character, despite only having a 4 in my range attack, decided to try to use a bow on him. A bow is a ranged weapon that, at mid-range, uses 1d10. The enemy will go ahead and roll that d6 to try to dodge real quick. Roll a 4, and I'm going to roll to see if I can hit him. I sure do. I got a 2 on my d4 because obviously I'm pretty bad, but this bow is effective, and it does hit him for 1 damage. I'm not that good at bowmanship, so it probably didn't kill him on impact, but it definitely hit him at least in the shoulder or something like that, thus dealing him damage. Let's say the NPC is attacking you. How do you do defense rolls? Well, I thought you'd never ask. It's another common target, so he's going to roll another d6, but you are ready for this attack. You are braced. You have a long sword, as we established. You are able to use that to also help you block. He's attacking you with a sword, which is a slashing damage type. And unlucky for him, we are great at using swords. So great that we're going to pull out our D8 Defense always rolls first. So let's see. Our highest roll was a 5. Our NPC got a 5, but we are defense, which means he has to beat it. He can't just meet it. So defense always wins in a tie. You can use that armor that we talked about in the last video, which, by the way, go check that out if you haven't seen it. The way combat works is the person that attacks always goes first, and then they skip their turn for the rest of the round until the next one. So it's the first person that attacks, the players always go next, then it's the NPCs, and then it's the environment, which is different than most TTRPGs. Normally the environment doesn't really change much or have an effect on it, but I really want to push for players to really have an idea of what we're doing right now is shifting the environment, or the environment right now is changing how we're fighting. You got a section for cause and effect. Every time it gets to the environment turn, you check off a part of this pie chart. It has dotted lines where you can kind of loosely like write down how many turns it's going to take for the effects to happen. But every time it gets to that environment's turn, check off one of those sections, and once the circle's filled up, the effect happens. Cause, at the beginning of the fight, when it's the environment's first turn, one of the NPCs runs off to tell the guards. You quickly make it so there's 4 spaces in the circle. The players keep fighting. At the end of each turn, you tell them, I'm checking off another slot. The players the whole time are going, what is he talking about? What's going to happen? Causing that tension to rise. And you know what's going to happen. It's checked off at the last round, and then the effect happens. The effect is that the city's guards rush in, and they're now in the fight. Or they're now going to fight the NPCs. Or whatever's going to happen, happens. Doesn't need to be good or bad, but something needs to happen. The environment needs to feel like it's alive, and it's working, and it's making decisions basically on its own. Maybe the NPCs complete a ritual, or maybe they call for reinforcements and they arrive whenever the chart is filled up. Or maybe their secret weapon is fully charged. Whatever you want as the GM, do it and build that tension. That's it for this video. That kind of is like the overall idea of combat that there are. We're going to go ahead and do a test of how this combat will work in the next video. So stay tuned for that one. And yeah, like always, please leave a comment down below what you think about it. And don't be too harsh because you haven't seen it in action yet. But please give your opinions on what you think about the combat system and how it works. But yeah, that's it for now. Signing off.